Jeffrey, I have a resident that's moving out and I'm a bit overwhelmed. What's the process from the moment the resident moves out to when the new resident moves in? As a property manager, I get this question quite often. And in this video, we're gonna take a look at everything that happens from move out to move in. At Good Steward Property Management, we look at every rental through what we call the resident life cycle. There's the leasing phase, the residency phase, the lease renewal phase, and eventually the move out. Today, we're focusing on that final phase. What has to happen after the resident moves out and before the next resident moves in. We took on a new account where the owner was actually an elderly parent and the kids were helping run point for mom. The property was a split level townhome, and at that stage of life, it was time for mom to move into a single story home. The kids wanted to utilize the property as a rental to help create income for mom's retirement. This was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath townhome in Fullerton, just over 1,500 square feet with a 2-car garage. This was also the first time the property was going to be placed on the rental market. And with that in mind, you can imagine there were quite a few items that needed to be addressed. The owner had lived in the property for decades, so before we could place it for rent, we had to get it rent ready. The process of getting a property rent ready is known as the turn process in its simplest form. The turn process has 3 main steps, with a 4th step applying if and when applicable. Step 1 is painting. For this property, the interior needed to be repainted, and we went with a standard Swiss coffee. It's a neutral off-white color. The goal was to keep the property clean, bright, and neutral so that it showed well to prospective residents. Step 2 is the maintenance checklist. We tested the items throughout the house, created a repair list, and dispatched that to the handyman so that the needed items could be addressed. Step 3, a deep cleaning. Once the work is completed, the next step was to have the property professionally cleaned so that it was ready for showings. And finally, step 4, if and when applicable, is other projects. In this property, the home had carpet and the floor became a major part of the project. The decision was made to move forward with vinyl plank flooring, which helped modernize the property and make it more durable as a rental. Now, let's talk about the schedule. The owner moved out in mid-September. We started the term process during the last week of September, and the work was completed around the first week of November. In this case, the total vacancy during the term process was about 6 weeks. That included the time needed to coordinate the painting, address the maintenance checklist, complete the flooring project, and get the property cleaned, ready for marketing. Once the process was completed, the next step was to place the property on the rental market. The property went live for rent on November 13th for $3,300, and the new resident was scheduled to move in on December 12th. This means that the total vacant days during the leasing process was 29 days, from the date the property went on the market to the scheduled move-in date. You'll notice that the paint, flooring, cleaning, and overall term process came together to help present the property to the rental market. If you own a rental property and you're trying to figure out what needs to happen between one resident moving out and the next resident moving in, this is exactly the type of process that we can help manage. From the initial walkthrough to coordinating vendors to getting the property rents ready to placing it on the market, our goal is to help protect the property, reduce vacancy, and make the transition as smooth as possible. The move out is not the end of the process. It's the beginning of getting the property ready for the next resident. That's the term process, and that's what we help owners manage.